21st century technology touches every aspect of our lives. If you wear a smartwatch, it's literally touching you all the time. Dr. Timothy Quinn practices family medicine in Ridgeland, Mississippi. He joins us now live in the studio to talk about a man who kept getting an urgent message from his Apple Watch. Dr. Quinn, can you share that story with us?
Well, basically, you know, this is time of year. We're buying gifts. Everybody's trying to figure out, what do I get?
Yeah.
Well, my good friend, he actually accredits his watch with saving his life.
How does that work?
I mean, basically, he had an Apple Watch, and he didn't really have a heart condition to his knowledge. But he noticed that the sensor kept telling him his pulse was extremely low, his heart rate.
Yeah.
So he called his medical doctor, and the medical doctor said, hey, come on in, let's check it out. They did an EKG in the office, and they called an ambulance and sent him to the emergency room. He got admitted, and his pulse continued to drop. And basically, they did an emergency cardiac catheterization, and they had to do emergency surgery where they implanted a pacemaker.
Whoa.
And they told him, had it have not been for the watch, you know, he could have possibly died.
He could have gone any second now.
Yeah.
What you see this alert, you think, oh, this watch is wrong, it can't be right, this is broken, but it persistently shows up that it's time to see somebody, isn't it?
It does. It basically arms people with information, and this is very valuable information because cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer. I mean, it's the watch that watches your back.
That is it.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of watch is it specifically? Do you have to have the Apple Watch? Can you have the old-fashioned Fitbit like I have here?
Well, the deal is the Apple Watch, the newest Apple Watch, has even a more valuable feature. It does a 1-lead EKG. Okay. And basically, this can even determine something that the old Fitbit can't do. It can determine if you have atrial fibrillation, which is a potentially very deadly heart condition. In a lot of cases, people have no symptoms. Basically, the heart beats irregularly, and it can lead to a stroke, which is very deadly if this occurs.
Yeah, you don't want a heart attack or a stroke. Now, can it detect a heart attack as it's happening?
It cannot, but in my research, I did run across a lot of stories where individuals admitted that they were having chest pain, shortness of breath, and symptoms of a heart attack, but they did admit that they were not going to call 911 because they figured it was probably heartburn.
Yeah.
But because the watch showed different signs, such as one person had a pulse that was very elevated to like 200, he went ahead and called 911, and he was having an active heart attack, but they were able to save him. And he talked to the reporter and said if it would not have been for that watch, he was going to simply ignore it.
Yeah, you get up to 200 beats a minute. You need to check into that pretty quickly, don't you?
Right, but what the watch does is it lets you know. And his wife was able to give that information to the paramedics over the telephone, and then that way, when they got there, they were more equipped to better help him. And like I said before, he admitted I was not going to call 911 until I saw that watch. So the watch just gives people power and as far as knowledge, and that's empowerment for patients so they don't hesitate and they can go ahead and get the treatment that potentially saves their lives.
Now, you're a doctor. What if a patient comes to you and says, my watch says I am sick? Now, how do you respond to that?
Well, we'll check them out. And in the medical community, there is some pushback. You know, a lot of doctors are saying, you know, this watch is going to make people unnecessarily go get checked out.
Yeah.
But hey, you know, it's a personal opinion. I feel it's a good thing because you can't just overestimate. You can't be too jumpy to get checked out because, as I said, cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer. And if we get 100 people checked out and we save one life, it's worth it.
That could be a great Christmas idea.
Yes,
watch that measures your heart rate. He can give you like an EKG there right on your wrist. Thank you, Dr. Timothy Quinn.